Jai Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jaya Yasoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yasoda Nandana Jaya Yasoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yasoda Nandana Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Jaya Yasoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yasoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Yasoda Nandana Jaya Braja Janaranjana Jaya Yasodananda Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Jaya Jamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Om Vishnupad, Paramahamsa Parivraj Acharya, Hasto Tarasata Sri Sriman, His Divine Grace, Abha, Charanadavinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Shri Shri Gaurnitai Ki, Shri Shri Radha Govardhana Dari Ki, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki, Shri Caitanya Charitamrita Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the flower growers and garland makers of New Govardhana Ki. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 17, text 214 through to 217. Tabe ami priti vakya kahila sabare Sabe gare yaha ami nished hiba tare Tabe ami priti vakya kahila sabare Sabe gare yaha ami nished hiba tare Vaishnavis. Tabe. Thereafter. Ami. I. Pritibhakya. Sweet words. Kahila. Said. Sabade. Unto all of them. Sabe. All of you. Gare. Back home. Yaha. Go. Ami. I. Nishedhiva. Shall prohibit. Tare. Him. Nimai Pandit. Translation. After hearing their complaints, in sweet words I told them, please go back home. I shall certainly prohibit Nimai Pandit from continuing his Hare Krishna movement. No purport. Text 215, translation. I know that Narayan is the supreme God of the Hindus, and I think that you are the same Narayan. This I feel within my mind. Text 26. After hearing the Qazi speak so nicely, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu touched him and smilingly spoke as follows. Text 217, translation. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna from your mouth has performed a wonder. It has nullified the reactions of all your sinful activities. Now you have become supremely pure. Purport, Srila Prabhupada. Confirming the potency of the Sankirtan movement, these words from the very mouth of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu express how people can be purified simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna. Because he was a Mohammedan malecha, or meat-eater, but because he several times uttered the holy name of Lord Krishna, automatically the reactions of his sinful life were vanquished, and he was fully purified of all material contamination. We do not know why the Prasandis of the present day protest that we are deteriorating the Hindu religion by spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world and claiming all classes of men to the highest standard of Vaishnavism. But these rascals disagree with us so vehemently that some of them do not allow European and American Vaishnavas to enter into the temples of Vishnu. Thinking religion to be meant for material benefit, these so-called Hindus have actually become vicious by worshipping the numerous forms of the demigods. In the next verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms the Qazi's purification. Amagyana timanandasya gnanjana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual masters very kindly come, forced open my eyes with the torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I offer my most respectful obeisances unto his lotus feet. Manibanda Gopal, can you repeat who Chand Qazi was in his previous incarnations? Kananami, killed by Vishnu, and next birth was, Kamsa in Krishna's pastimes. Yes. Thank you for that. You shared that with us last time we spoke. I did a little research, I couldn't find it, so all glories to your superior researching abilities there. Okay, all right, thank you. So yes, the Qazi is not an ordinary person. He's participated in Krishna's pastimes in previous lives, and here he is again in Krishna as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Navadvip pastimes. So, not an ordinary person. And just to recap a little bit, because we're coming to the end of this rather dramatic pastime in Mahaprabhu's early life, as I'm sure we all know, the nocturnal kirtans went on for 1 year in the house. It was invitation only, Srivas Thakur's house, and that was causing, and it was an all-night affair, so that was causing agitation to all sorts of people around about who were complaining to the Qazi, who was the magistrate of Navadvip at that time and charged with the responsibility of punishing criminals and maintaining law and order. So this culminated in either the Qazi personally or sending some of his lieutenants to, and they broke one of the Mridungas and forbade this congregational chanting. And of course, Mahaprabhu, being the most influential Supreme Personality of Godhead, he was immediately able to organize massive civil disobedience. 100,000 men with torches in the evening descended on Chand Qazi's home, much to the terror of Chand Qazi, who locked himself in one of his upstairs rooms, refused to come out. But eventually we have this wonderful dialogue between Lord Caitanya and Chand Qazi. And the Qazi also had a terrible dream one night where he confessed in earlier verses to Mahaprabhu that a ferocious half-man, half-lion personality had landed on his chest and was vowing to destroy him and all of the Mohammedans if he didn't desist from prohibiting the ongoing Sankirtan movement. So he was very fearful. It's interesting to note, speaking of Srivas and Lord Nrsingadev, does anybody know, might have given it away here, oh well, who the worshipable Ishtadev deity was in the house of Srivas Thakur and Malini? Prior to of course, Lord Caitanya was his worshipable Lord. Anyone know who Srivas Thakur and Malini were worshipping? It was Lord Nrsingadev. Anyone know who Nanda Maharaj and Mother Jasoda were worshipping before Krishna and Balaram came into their lives? Lord Nrsingadev. Correct. So there was a little controversy. Many years ago in the 1970s, we heard that only renunciants, especially sannyasis, but other renunciants, brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, should worship Lord Nrsingadev. This idea came from some of our venerable sannyasi godbrothers who may have toured in South India and perhaps heard this. But and it became almost like ISKCON law that, and the rationale was that Lord Nrsingadev is very ferocious, and he takes everything away from householders. And so householders don't generally have too much, but what they do have, they like to hang on to, maybe a house, a car, some household paraphernalia. So this was the idea. But not so long ago, I checked in with our ISKCON Minister for Deity Worship, Nrsinga Kavacha Prabhu, and I said, have you ever heard that? Is that anywhere in some Shastra? And he said, not that I know. If anyone would know, he would know. So he said, no, I don't think it's... And there you have a couple of examples. Srivas Thakur, householder, and Malini, large family, worshipping Lord Nrsingadev, and similarly Nanda Maharaj and Mother Jasoda. And it's said that Madhu Mangala would sometimes do the deity worship for Lord Nrsingadev in the house, because he was a Brahmin of Nanda and Jasoda. And for the further evidence to support this being the fact is that Prahlad Maharaj is also a householder. He's the greatest devotee of Lord Narasimhadev. And at our last Nrsimha Chaturdasi, Charanaravinda is here, 13 or 14 deities from our householders were brought and for the day, spent the day on the altar here and were worshipped very nicely. So, and I think all of those 13 or 14 households are doing very nicely. So, so there we have it, just to kind of lock that in. But another interesting fact that we read recently, in each of the 4 ages there is one premier holy place. We know there are hundreds, thousands of holy places in the length and breadth of Bharatvarsha. But in each age there is one particular holy place which is considered superlative. And in the Satya Yuga, that place is found in the north, and that's Badrinath, or Badarikashram. In the next age, the age when Lord Ramachandra appears, that premier holy place is in the south, Rameshwaram. In the next age, in which Krishna appears, Dwapara Yuga, the principal holy place is Dwarka, which is in the west. And in the age of Kali, who can guess? Jagannath Puri, thank you. And that's in the east. So all 4 directions are covered in the 4 different ages. And that's quite significant for us as aspiring Gaudiya Vaishnavas, that Caitanya Mahaprabhu, on the order of his mother, chose to spend the last 18 years of his life in Jagannath Puri and perform so many wondrous pastimes in Puri. And it's also significant because Srila Prabhupada was very anxious to initiate Rath Yatras all over the world. And just going on some of his comments in this particular purport, we can repeat, but strong words, but these rascals disagree with us so vehemently that some of them do not allow European and American Vaishnavas to enter into the temples of Vishnu. So, and of course, classic case of that is the famous Jagannath temple in Puri, where still those of us who were not born in Indian families, and even I've heard sometimes they're so vehemently opposed that even some of our Indian ISKCON devotees, they have to go somewhat incognito, a little bit in disguise, because they have such animosity, vehemently. Prabhupada uses the word here. So Prabhupada, of course, from his childhood, he loved Rath Yatra and organised it himself with the help of his father, and whenever he got the opportunity after coming to America, then he was anxious, even very early days in San Francisco. He named his second temple in San Francisco New Jagannath Puri, because San Francisco is right on the Pacific Ocean, and Shyamasundar Prabhu carved the first Jagannath deities, and they held the first Rath Yatra there. It's interesting that before that, a couple of years before, in Prabhupada's first temple, 26 Second Avenue, His Divine Grace shared with one of his very earliest disciples, who wrote in his memoir how Prabhupada shared with him his aspiration to import from India large marble Radha Krishna deities and install them in his future centres in America. And this early disciple of Prabhupada arced up, so to speak, when he heard Swamiji, Srila Prabhupada, say that, and he responded by saying, then it will be just like the Catholic Church. And Prabhupada just immediately dropped the subject. He said, then forget about it. He just moved straight on. He understood that this particular disciple was not able to come to terms with the one of the two all-important paths in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual process, which is deity worship. But of course Prabhupada didn't give up on his aspiration, and Lord Jagannath appeared, and then not too long after, perhaps a year or two or three later, in London, their lordships, Radha, London, Ishwara, were installed. So it's a wonderful aspect of Gaudiya Vaishnava theology that we are travelling along, making progress, just like a train either roars along for very serious and sincere devotees, or chugs along for some of us who may be a little slow in the matter of spiritual advancement. But somehow or other the train moves along on two parallel train tracks. And they are known as Pancharatrika Marg, or Vidhi, means path, and the Bhagavat Vidhi, or Bhagavat Marg, also sometimes referred to as Rag Marg. So Pancharatriki refers to the Narada Pancharatna, and we did a little reading of the Narada Pancharatna yesterday, which we never read before. And it's been translated by one of Srila Prabhupada's followers, and it's very interesting. Of course, in previous ages, people were much more intelligent. They were much more inclined to spiritual practices in the first instance. They had much better memories. They're much more powerful in all regards. In this age of Kali, none of us can kind of boast of having too many of those qualities. Manda sumanda matayo. We're very slow in the manner of spiritual advancement. So Mahaprabhu has given a very sublime process: chant, dance, feast, and a little philosophy. In 2 lectures that we've played right here in this temple room on Ekadasis in recent years, and Prabhupada mentions that in a lecture he gave in Los Angeles, that Mahaprabhu's process is so nice, singing, dancing and feasting, and still we cannot do it. And Prabhupada includes himself with great humility. Of course, Prabhupada could do it, more accurately would have been, and still you cannot do it. But still he includes himself to encourage his disciples. Such an easy process: singing, dancing, feasting, and a little philosophy. So that is the Bhagavat Marg, which is foremost of the two. It takes a little precedence, though both are very important. Hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names, first and foremost in the Bhagavat Vidhi or Bhagavat Marg. But deity worship is also very, very important, and there are many, many quotes from Srila Prabhupada throughout his books explaining how devotees need to follow both. And that is to keep us pure and to regulate our activities, our mind, our senses, and to be reminded constantly that we're not these bodies but Krishna's eternal servants. That comes. And even if one can't personally worship deities, one, Rupa Goswami advises in Nectar of Devotion, one should at least come and see the deities being worshipped by others. So, of Of course, there are many famous verses. Shruti, Shrimiti, Puranadi, Pancharatra, Vinim Vina, Ahoitaki, Hare Bhakti, Utpataje, Vakalpate. That devotional service to the Lord that ignores the authorized Vedic literatures such as the Shruti, the Smriti, the Puranas, the Narada Pancharatra, etc., is simply an unnecessary disturbance in society. So we are doing our best to do both, and it's they are sometimes described, there is interdependence between the two. And this is one of the aspects that Caitanya Mahaprabhu is famous for. Historians and our acharyas So historians have noted that Caitanya Mahaprabhu changed Indian history in 4 ways, and they can be abbreviated to CAPS. If we want to make a strong statement when we're typing these days, we use all caps, yes? So, first, C for culturally. Mahaprabhu changed the course of Indian history culturally, and a lot can be said about each one of these, but we'll just mention them briefly. The second, A, for attitudinally. He changed people's attitudes in profound ways. P, for philosophically. He changed the course of Indian history philosophically. And S, socially. So some of these can cross over a little bit. For example, socially and culturally, he accepted into his fold many different personalities who had been either ostracized or never even appeared in Vedic so-called Varnashram families, most famously Haridas Thakur. And Rupa and Sanatan and Anupan, the 3 brothers, had been booted out of Brahminical society because they accepted employment in the Mohammedan government of the day. So these are the ways that Mahaprabhu changed the course of Indian history, and he appeared quite early on in the Kali Yuga, 432,000 years Kali Yuga, and the Lord appeared just 4,500 years in. So they're very wonderful aspects of Mahaprabhu's mission, and we can see that it is a movement for the masses, very much meant as a movement for the masses. But not everyone, and everyone can chant Hare Krishna, dance in ecstasy, honor prasad, and study a little philosophy. It's not narrow, it's not elitist, it's actually meant. And if anything, Mahaprabhu's mercy travels down most munificently to the lowest classes of people. He's famous as Patita Pavana, the deliverer of the most fallen. So that is the mercy. And for that reason, he is known as Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishna Krishna Caitanya Namne Gaura Tuisi Namaha, Rupa Goswami's famous glorification that you, Lord Chaitanya, are the most munificent. Why? Because you're freely distributing love of Krishna without discriminating who is high class, middle class, low class. You're just freely giving Krishna Prema to everyone. Vasishtha Prabhu shared with me a nice incident that happened on his recent trip to India, which we've also had experience, and it's just because it's in relation to Prabhupada mentioning not being allowed, us Westerners not being allowed into certain Hindu temples. And wherever Vasu Prabhu was in India, he wanted to go into one temple, but he was forbidden. Well, that's an unembodied voice from the sky. Vasu, where are you? Oh, he's down there. Oh, okay. Kanchipuram. Thank you. All right. So I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here, Vasu. You can... I thought I'd give you a couple of weeks after you told me, and maybe you've already mentioned this, but let me repeat. So in this particular temple, Vasu, being a white-skinned Vaishnava, was not allowed in. So the chowkidar or whoever the guard was at the front said, as they always do, he wanted your certificate of conversion to Hinduism, right, Vasu? So Vasu quickly flicked his phone and showed him a photo of Srila Prabhupada and said, "He is my Acharya." Did you get any joy from that, Vasu, or still? You did. You got through. There you go. It works. Haribol. We had a similar, when you told me that, I remembered we had a similar incident, myself and His Holiness Indradumna Swami and our dear late great godbrother Bimal Prasad. We went to Nepal twice and traversed the Kali Gandaki River, fossicking for the Lord in one of his most mysterious forms as Shaligrams. But before we could do that, you had to spend, in those days, probably still the same, a couple of days in Kathmandu getting your trekking permit to go to the region of Muktinath and the Kali Gandaki River, which is quite a sensitive area because it borders on Chinese-controlled Tibet. Anyway, so to pass the time, we went to there is one, probably the most famous temple in Kathmandu is the Pashupatinath temple, Temple of Lord Shiva, very famous. But we weren't allowed in there either, and we got the same response, even though we were dressed in devotional clothing. Maharaj was there, sannyasi, danda, shaved heads, tilak, everything. Still, the chowkidar, the guard at the entrance to the temple, he forbade us to enter. He said, no, you can't. This is a Hindu temple. So at that point, a couple of Nepalese street dogs ran through the gateway and into the courtyard of the temple. And our godbrother Bimal Prasad, who's very clever, extremely witty, he said in his delightful South African accent, "You let the dogs into the temple, but you won't let us." To which the chowkidar said, "But they are Hindu dogs." So we gave up after that. We weren't as lucky as you, Vasu. We gave up. But still we were only really interested in going to Kali Gandaki. So these misconceptions are there. Of course, slowly, in many cases, they are being broken down. Let's just see, we've got a few minutes here. It's interesting that Kazi refers to Mahaprabhu in these verses as that very same Narayan, Lord Narayan. And of course, Mahaprabhu, one of his many names is Gaur Narayan, Golden Narayan. So, let's just see, Hare Krishna. All right. In this regard also, there is a saying, a man convinced against his will remains of the same opinion still. Thank you. So we see that this is one conversation that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has with one particular personality. And Caitanya Caritamrita, there will be many, many conversations which Mahaprabhu has with all sorts of different personalities, especially in his youth and in his 6 years of travelling the length and breadth of India, and they have been wonderfully narrated here by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. Questions and answers. So, last point, we had a wonderful festival a couple of weeks ago now, Shravanam Kirtanam Festival. And I was sitting outside under the Kadamba tree each of the 3 mornings finishing my rounds, which was delightful. And I was both chanting Hare Krishna mantra and also hearing Hare Krishna mantra emanating from here in the temple room, which was wonderful. And I was also watching, because the weather was hot, that each year the sugarcane stall was doing roaring trade. And I understand that there were 2 or 3, there was lemon and ginger varieties, yes? Any other flavours? And I was watching how the squished sugarcane, which we grow here on New Govardhana. Sometimes I revert back to, we used to live on New Varshana in Auckland. But not anymore. It's a long time ago now. Yes, we grow it here on New Govardhana, and we also have bees. I saw this week. Who's looking after the bees? Sajani's looking after the bees. You could barely recognise Sajani. She was behind a big bee mask and fully as you have to do when you work with bees. So this was wonderful, but the squished sugar cane was coming with amazing regularity, I'd see, and they were huge armfuls, and they were being used to compost the banana trees down below and the mango trees. And I thought, this is very organic. And I was thinking, because we're seeing the world through the eyes of Shastra Chakshus is what we're meant to be cultivating. And Vyasadeva and Sukadeva give very often strong analogies in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And one of those is, of course, Puna Punas Chavita Chavananam, chewing the chewed. And those of us who have drunk freshly squeezed sugarcane juice in India, though I don't recommend it because sometimes it's a little unhygienic, the sugarcane juicing walla, he will simply rinse out the glass in a pretty cloudy dish of water, and that's good enough for the next customer. But anyway, what we see in India is the domesticated animals like the cows and the street dogs and the monkeys and so on. They quite often come around and they try to chew the chewed. They try to squeeze out some juice from that, but most of the juice has already been squeezed out. So Vyasadeva and Sukadeva Goswami, they use this example that material life is like chewing the chewed. Materialistic people, we've done the same things again and again and again. We may have got a little juice, a little taste, but then it becomes hackneyed, old. And Prabhupada always gave the example of mundane news. In olden days, people would buy a newspaper, read it once, and then discard it. But spiritual life is ever fresh. And there is a nice quote, if I can find it here. Yes, this is it. This is the Bhagavat Marg. Hearing, chanting and studying Srimad Bhagavatam gives inspiration and taste, enlivens us in our devotional service. So I'll stop there, everyone. Any questions, comments or corrections? Mani Bandagop. I'll try and repeat. I don't know if we have another one, if the other third microphone, Bhakta mic is flat, or I can try and repeat. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Thanks. It's an interesting point you bring up about worshipping Lord Nrsimhadev. it was understood that if you worship Lord Nrsingadev in association with Gauni Thai, Lord Nrsingadev takes on that beneficent mood.
Thank you.
So like in Mayapur, when they were, I think it was at Mataprabhu, he was asked to go down to South India to get Lord Nrsingadev deity carved, and the Stapati was reluctant, and I think also his guru was saying, no, don't do it. But when he found out it was ISKCON and going to be worshipped in association with Gauni Thai, he said, no, you can do that, because Lord Nrsingadev would take on that beneficent mood. And indeed, a lot of devotees relate that, they refer to Lord Nrsingadev as Dr. Nrsingadev, because he's bestows his blessings. Many devotees have recounted how different diseases have been healed praying to Lord Nrsingadev. So that's it. But there was one instance where a devotee, he was worshipping Lord Nrsingadev just by himself, and at some point he got married, but the marriage very quickly, in his own words, he said it was destructive from the beginning.
Okay.
So unfortunately, and he was speaking to his spiritual master, Lord Indadu Maharaj, who of course a lot of experience worshipping Lord Nrsingadev, and he asked Maharaj, sort of the astrology showed that they were a good match, so why did it, pan out the way it did? And Indadu Maharaj mentioned that it's because you were worshipping Lord Nrsingadev by himself. He was just taking everything away. So as a Grihasta, you should worship Lord Nrsingadev in association with Gauni Thai.
Okay.
So that was the instruction, realization he gave.
That's very useful, that's very helpful, thank you so much. If I could just add, looks like there's a couple more. I was going to mention that Shanti Prabhu, who we know also lived in Mayapur for many, many years and was a little reluctant. He got the opportunity to also worship Lord Nrsingadev in Mayapur as a householder man. And he was a little reluctant, but Pankajangari Prabhu, the late great Pankajangari Prabhu, said, no, it's fine. Shanti said, he's so ferocious and you're not looking, and I'm not sure. but Pankajangari said, no, don't worry. He's just a big pussycat. You'll be fine. A couple other comments there, or if...
Just to add to what Manibandhu said, I did a 3-4 day course with the late Sridhar Swami, your godbrother. He was at Nrsingadev Bhakti in Mayapur 20 years or so ago. And on that note, in terms of the mood, with the Stapati, the Maharaj said when the deity is installed in the dham, then it takes on the mood of the predominating deity of that dham, which is in Mayapur, Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So that's at least I heard it that way. I think if for householders, if I remember that course, we were recommended to worship Lakshmi Nrsinga.
Correct. Yes, I was thinking that also. Lakshmi Nrsingadev.
As you know, there's many different forms of...
Sure. Yes,
So
very good point. Thank you. Ram, did you have a comment as well? All right. Anyone else? Anything? Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. Jai Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Ki. Kartik Vrata Maha Mahotsava Ki.